It's kind of wild when you think about it. Why has just going shopping become such a battleground? Today, we're going to dive into why the modern marketplace is basically the new front line for our deepest beliefs, where every single thing you buy can be a statement.
And believe me, the stakes are incredibly high. Just look at this. That massive drop in a huge corporation stock, that wasn't because of a bad earnings report or anything like that. Nope. This happened like overnight. It was all triggered by a single moral and religious ruling that turned millions of customers against the company. We're talking real-world, serious financial impact, and it's driven entirely by people's convictions. So that really gets you thinking, right? How does this even happen? What's the psychological switch that flips inside of us, that turns an everyday shopper into a passionate activist, someone who's willing to completely drop a brand they might have loved for years?
Well, to get to the bottom of it, we first have to recognize that we're all living in what you could call a new moral marketplace. It's a world where our shopping carts are, in a way, becoming extensions of our deepest values.
And the key to unlocking this whole thing? It lies in something we all have, but probably don't think about much. A kind of secret code that's hardwired right into our conscience. This is what explains why we have such powerful gut reactions when a brand decides to take a stand.
So this code is actually explained by a really fascinating psychological idea called moral foundations theory. Basically, it says that our sense of right and wrong isn't just this one big monolithic thing. It's actually built on a few universal, almost primal intuitions. You can think of them as the basic building blocks of our conscience.
Okay, and here's where it gets really interesting. These foundations are basically split into two teams. On one side, you've got what are called the individualizing foundations. These are things like care and fairness, all about protecting individuals. Then, on the other side, you have the binding foundations, loyalty, authority, and purity. These are more focused on protecting the group and keeping social order. Now, here's the kicker. We all have these, kind of like moral taste buds, but we all prioritize them differently. And that's exactly why the same ad or corporate statement can seem heroic to one person and absolutely outrageous to another.
So here's the bottom line. When a company does something, anything really, whether it's a new ad campaign or they get caught in a scandal, it's not just a business move anymore. It's pulling one of these deep moral triggers inside us. And that is what sparks that powerful emotional response.
Okay, but wait. Having a moral trigger pulls is one thing. But actually acting on it, that's a whole different story. And that's where this incredibly powerful emotional mechanism comes into play, what we're calling the guilt engine.
Right, so how do we get from just a gut feeling that, this is wrong moment, all the way to an organized boycott? How does this abstract moral idea turn into a concrete, real-world action?
This is where the data gets super fascinating. Check this out. When our individualizing morals, care and fairness, get triggered, our sense of personal responsibility just skyrockets. But the real powerhouse, the game changer, is right there at the bottom. Anticipated guilt. Just the thought of feeling guilty later on has this incredibly strong positive link to whether we actually intend to change what we're doing.
And this number right here just nails that point home. That 0.502. That's the statistical strength of anticipated guilt in predicting whether someone will actually stop buying something. In the study this data comes from, it was the single most powerful factor. Think about that. We are literally motivated to act just to avoid a bad feeling we think we might have in the future. It's that powerful.
Okay, so let's put it all together. It's a chain reaction, really. Step 1, a brand's action triggers our deep-seated morals. Step 2, this makes us feel personally responsible. Step 3, that feeling opens the door for anticipated guilt. And finally, step 4, that guilt becomes the fuel that drives us to act, whether that's to buy something else or to boycott them completely. It's a clear psychological domino effect.
All right, theory is great, but let's see how this all plays out in the real world. We're going to look at a case study of what happens when a brand's activism, which was probably well-intentioned, ends up hitting all the wrong moral triggers and sparks a huge backlash.
So this story is all about a beloved Finnish candy company called Fazer. They launched this campaign with a social media bot, a love bot, that was designed to find and counter hate speech online. Sounds like a noble goal, right? What could go wrong? Well, just look at this chart. All that red represents the immediate, and I mean overwhelming wave of negative and critical messages that just flooded social media the second it launched.
And here's the thing. This backlash wasn't just random yelling. It was strategic. Researchers dug in and found that the people who are angry deployed three main tactics. First, they organized boycotts. Second, they worked to discredit the brand's reputation. And third, they got really creative with technology to actually trap the bot and make it look silly.
And the anger was just raw. I mean, this is an actual reply that was sent to the bot. It's hostile, and it gives you a real feel for the emotional intensity here. See, for this person, the company crossed a major line. It triggered their authority foundation. To them, Phaser was acting like some kind of unelected digital police officer, sticking its nose where it didn't belong.
Now, that discrediting strategy was pretty clever because it actually weaponized the brand's own morals against it. Opponents started pointing out the company's other ethical issues, calling them hypocrites, which, boom, is a direct hit on the Fairness Foundation. Then they attacked the product itself, basically saying, hey, you sell unhealthy candy. Who are you to preach to us about social causes? And that triggers the Purity Foundation. The idea that something impure can't be a messenger for a pure cause. And then you have the trapping. This was basically digital guerrilla warfare. People would feed the bot all sorts of offensive or politically incorrect words just to see if they could break it or make it say something ridiculous. They even created parody accounts to mock the whole campaign. They literally turned the brand's own tool against itself.
But look, this whole story isn't just about anger and boycotts. It's super important to realize that the exact same psychological forces that make us want to punish a brand can also make us want to support one. So let's look beyond the boycott for a minute.
Yeah, the really crucial thing to get here is that this is not a one-way street. The very same moral triggers, that same feeling of personal responsibility, can also fuel what researchers call pro-social consumer behavior. It's basically the positive flip side of the same coin.
And this pro-social behavior can look like a lot of different things. It might be pro-environmental, buying an electric car or sustainable products. It could be ethical, like choosing fair trade coffee. It can be about donations, or even what's called consumer citizenship, stuff like taking the time to leave an honest review to help other people out. At the end of the day, it's all about using our spending power to try and build a better world. And it's really important to remember, this whole idea of using our wallets as a weapon, it isn't new, not at all. It's a tactic with a long and really powerful history. The word boycott itself, it comes from 1880s Ireland. From there, it was picked up by the American labor movement. Then it went global as a political tool in the 1930s, and eventually it became this key weapon in huge geopolitical struggles, probably most famously in the fight against apartheid in South Africa. So when we do this today, we're really just part of a long tradition.
So, what's the big takeaway from all this? I think it's that our deep, intuitive moral programming is fundamentally changing our relationship with the whole economy. We're not just passive buyers anymore, just grabbing stuff off the shelf. We are becoming active participants, using our wallets to try and shape a marketplace that reflects our values.
And that leaves us with one last kind of provocative thought to chew on. In a world where pretty much every purchase sends some kind of message and every brand seems to be taking a stand, is it possible that the most powerful vote you cast isn't in a ballot box at all, but every time you're at the cash register?